Oh my. This place really is creepy, isn't it?
Well, being a dead room, it's probably full of the spirits of the dissected. But actually, there's a rather pleasing scent of roses in the air. Well, being a dead room, the coroner probably needs a bold scent like that to make the odor of death, to mask the odor of death.
Iris? Do you think we could perhaps change the subject? Dr. Gory?
What?
That noise before.
I was certainly no tools. I'd be dead meat if I didn't keep a perfectly keen edge on them.
Why?
And following the collagen fibers in the dermis, an expertly sharpened scalpel cuts like cheese. Would you like a demonstration? Oh, yes, please. I'd love to see. Then, I think you'll do nicely.
Ah! No! I wouldn't do nicely at all! I mean, maybe some other time!
Tch.
Another time? Well, we came here to ask questions, so... again, I'm only 23. Please, have mercy on me. I mean, Ryunosuke's 23. Chill. We have actually met before. I'm a lawyer, if you remember.
You're not dead yet. So Mama said I wasn't to cut you open. She's so strict about things like that.
Well, good! Dr. Sith has some scruples, at least.
Oh dear. It looks like she's not interested in talking to us. For the time being, anyway.
For the time being? You mean, until we die? I hope that's a way off. Sorry, but I wasn't planning on dying anytime soon. Surely there's some less drastic way of making her listen. Oh yeah, what we came here for, right? Let's show her. Dr. Gory, we actually came here to ask you about this.
It was very good.
Sorry?
This skin didn't snag my blade once. And very little mess. His joints dislocated easily, and his muscle tissue was a pleasure to work with.
We can skip those details! But there is one thing about the report that's caught my attention. You don't seem to have recorded a time of death. That's not my fault. That made me jump. And please, tell us what happened. So, why doesn't this autopsy report include the victim's time of death then? It's really the most crucial detail.
I was told not to write it.
By whom?
Now Strongheart, the Lord Chief Justice, he came here.
Why? Lord Strongheart
He said that from the witness statements about the gunshot and the other evidence it was obvious.
Still... appearances can be deceiving.
The man clearly died at 5 p.m. on 1st November when the gunshot was hit.
Okay, but that's not when he died. But that's not the time of death you wrote on the report. You didn't write anything. Was there some reason you didn't include it? I mean, she just said Lord Strongheart, like, stifled her or something. But maybe there was a different reason? Dr. Gory? If you're hiding something under Lord Strongheart's instructions, then sooner or later you're going to go to the same way as your mother. Oh!
Give it here then.
Huh? What's she scribbling so furiously?
There.
You've written...
What's she written? Tell us!
Indeterminate.
But...
Is that true? What do you mean by that? Why was the time of death indeterminate?
When the specimen was brought in, it was still fresh. So the time of death could have easily coincided when the gunshot was heard. But there was one small discrepancy.
What discrepancy?
There were some fried fish in the pocket of the specimen's overcoat. That fish had started to rot.
What?
If the victim liked fried fish, he presumably liked to eat it before it went off.
Yes. What are you really trying to say?
It's possible that someone tried to manipulate the apparent time of death.
Manipulate? Is that even possible to do?
Theoretically, if you were to chill the body in ice, you could delay the onset of putrefaction. And if the overcoat wasn't on the body at the time,
then only the fish would have started to rot.
With today's science, it's not yet possible to determine if the body was chilled or not.
But today's science is advanced enough to let you freeze a corpse, it seems.
But surely,
to chill a corpse like that would require an enormous electrical refrigerator. And I don't imagine many households in London are equipped with such a device.
No, definitely not. But maybe in a factory or some other special places.
I don't recall seeing any factories or such like on Fresno Street, though. I wonder if the inspector's body had been chilled somehow. What might be the actual time of death?
I couldn't say for sure.
But at most, it might have been a day earlier. No. In other words, it would corroborate your previous deduction, Mr. Noddlehoodle. And Inspector Gregson was killed a day before his body was discovered at a different location. Did you inform Lord Strongheart of this possibility?
He simply said that there were no electrical refrigerators on that size in the vicinity.
Yes, one other thing. It's something the governor of Barclay Prison told us. He said that your mother, Dr. Sith, was responsible for confirming the death of the professor after his execution. The professor. Apparently, you always enjoyed listening to your mother's stories about her work, so we were wondering if you might know something about what happened 10 years ago.
That's not all Mama did.
Sorry?
My Mama carried out the autopsy of Clint Von Zeeks as well.
Really? The brother of Lord Von Zeeks, the professor's final victim.
The idea of carrying out an autopsy on a member of the aristocracy was completely unthinkable back then. But the detective in charge of the investigation insisted, and it was miraculously authorized.
That detective being Inspector Gregson, of course. Quite an accomplishment for one man.
That autopsy provided the vital clue needed to arrest the killer. And Mama was there for that historic event.
What does this all mean?
You know, that amazing autopsy happened right here in this very room. The professor and Clint Von Zeeks. They both spent their final moments before their burial on that dissection table there. So this lab, Mama's lab, was instrumental in some of the country's most important events.
She really is proud of her mother. I wonder if you'd tell us more about exactly what happened back then, Dr. Gory.
The professor's execution was Mama's first big case. She had to be in attendance at Barclay Prison's execution chamber and signed the certificate to confirm the convict's death. Mama is the best coroner in the world, you know. I was so proud of her.
But the execution didn't actually take place.
No, and worse still, Mama actually helped with the jailbreak. I didn't want to know.
Oh dear, you found out recently, you mean?
I believed in her and Mama, but now I wonder if I'm starting down the same path as her.
You mean because you omitted the time of death on this autopsy report? But that's because Lord Strongheart forbade you from including it.
Just like Mama. I'm sure she was coerced by somebody too.
Yes, that's my feeling as well.
There's no doubt that there were powerful forces at play 10 years ago. The execution couldn't have been staged without a lot of people at the prison knowing about it. Obviously, the prison governor must have been in on it as well. The big man with the little handcuffs, according to what he told us. He was tricked by the chief warder. He says he knows nothing about it. Of course he said that. I'd say the same thing.
Just who was behind that jailbreak all those years ago? You mentioned the autopsy of Clint von Zieks.
It was at the time when carrying out autopsies of murder victims were very unusual.
Still not a practice that's observed in our country even now.
It turned out that he was the professor's final victim, and when the autopsy was performed, Mama was present, although only as the secondary assistant. The person leading the procedure was called Dr. John H. Wilson. That's right, my daddy! And there was one other person present, the primary assistant. He was a visiting student from the Far East.
A visiting student? Must have been my father,
Eugene Mikotoba.
I had no idea Professor Mikotoba had been involved in something so important.
But the outcome of that historic autopsy was the discovery of a vital piece of evidence that led to the capture of the professor.
So that's how they came to identify Genshin Asogi as the infamous mass murderer. Do you happen to know anything about that piece of evidence? Can you tell us more?
Would you like to see the records for yourself?
Would that be alright?
What's the point of keeping records if people can't look at them? They're filed under V at the back of those cupboards, with the other records from the last decade.
Thank you! How gracious. See, Von Zieks. Von Zieks. That's strange. What, Mr. Naruhodo? They aren't here. There's nothing under Von Zieks.
They must be!
Perhaps somebody took them away?
No one's allowed to take documents related to the professor case out of this room.
But you're right. They're gone! When was the last time somebody looked at them? Do you remember?
It was... Oh yes, I remember now. It was 2 years ago. A consulting detective came one day, saying he'd like to see the records.
You don't mean...
Herlock Sholmes was his name.
Deep down, I knew that was coming.
Do you think he stole the records? Surely not! Iris, that can't be right, can it?
Iris?
Bruno? I hope you don't mind, but...
What is it, Iris?
I've just remembered something very important I have to do. I'm going to leave you now. This is very sudden, Iris. We'll come with you then. No, there's no need. You and Bruno can take your time here. Bye for now then. Good luck.
Wait a minute, little girl.
Me?
I remember now. You've been here before, haven't you? Have you, Iris?
Yes, 2 years ago, when that detective came. You were with him, weren't you? You were a living specimen then, too.
That's the way it usually works, yes.
Was I? I really don't remember. Anyway, sorry, but I must dash.
Wait, Iris!
I'll brew a bottle for you when I get home.
What's the matter with her? She's behaving really strangely all of a sudden. Well, in that case, we won't keep you any longer either.
It's been quite a while since I had any visitors. This was really fun. The next time you come, I'd prefer it if you were ready for dissection.
I can't make any promises, sorry! It's a bit strange that the records of Clint von Zeke's autopsy have disappeared. And I think we've asked all we came to ask now. Let's get the fuck out of here. We'll leave her to it. Trial resumes tomorrow. We'd better make a start. Well, that wasn't there before. The police are still busily investigating in here then.
But Gina's nowhere to be seen. Where is she?
Yes, it's been blissfully quiet, hasn't it? Perhaps she's out investigating on her own, practicing what her boss told her.
I expect she'll be back before long. Shall we wait?
Actually, there's something different about this room since the last time we were here, isn't there?
We could always use the time to investigate more thoroughly.
Yes. Wait, there was a piece of evidence I didn't read yet, was it? Court record. Yes, I didn't read this yet, my bad. Last will and testament of Genshin Asogi. I, Genshin Asogi, hereby request that upon my death, any and all material possessions and wealth belonging to me in London be delivered to my son, Kazuma Asogi, in the Empire of Japan. It is with deep sadness that I accept my fate in this foreign land, in the knowledge that I will never see my homeland or family again, but I regret nothing about my chosen path. That's odd. This is a weapon. Anyways, this little trunk wasn't here before, was it?
It appears to be made of metal. It must be very heavy. I wonder to whom it belongs. There are some initials on the outside, look. TG.
let's ask one of the policemen if they know how it came to be here.
Oi! What do you think you're doing? It's my trunk, that is! Hands off!
Gina! Where were you hiding?
I don't know, you leave something unattended for a few seconds, and every Tom, Dick and Harry's got his eyes on it.
Just a wild guess, Gina, but...
What? Spit it out, Otto!
Is it fair to say that you've only owned that trunk since this morning's trial?
What? What are you trying to say, eh? Come on, this trunk goes with me everywhere. Always has. Where you been the last year, huh?
Trying not to incur your wrath, mainly.
You should hear them talking at the yard now. They should be ashamed of themselves. They're saying it was the boss who killed all them bludgers.
You mean the whole Reaper thing?
Yeah. Apparently the boss was investigating stuff that no one else at the yard knew nothing about. Stuff to do with all them criminals what got off scot-free.
Yes, the ones prosecuted by Lord Von Zieks who used bribery and corruption to evade conviction.
Well then obviously, it was that bloomin' Reaper giving the orders, weren't it?
Why would people be suspecting Inspector Gregson of being involved in the killings?
There was a notebook hidden in his office.
This doesn't sound good.
It had details about all the crimes that have been pegged as the Reaper's work.
What? Oh, did you see it, Gina? Did you see the notebook?
They won't flame and let me, just because I'm an apprentice, apparently. And it was me who found it, and he was my boss. That's right. I was being miffed about it, so I sneaked a peek at what he said anyway. That's so, Gina.
So, you managed to see what was written in Gregson's secret notebook anyway, did you?
Well, I see it. It's my right to read what he wrote.
And what had he written, Gina?
Dates, times, places, names, and a whole long list of them. All details about the bludgers supposed to have been done in by the Reaper.
But there could be an explanation for that. Perhaps it was a record of the inspector's investigations into the Reaper's activities.
Exactly. That's what I said. That's the first thing you'd think, right? As it happens, it was full of names I recognise anyway.
Well, the Reaper's targets were almost exclusively known leaders of London's criminal underworld.
Well, yeah, but there was one name right at the end that was a bit odd.
At the end of the list, you mean?
I'm pretty sure the date against it was 31st October.
The day before the inspector was found dead! So, what was the odd name?
It weren't like the name I've ever seen before. It was something like, Nah, it's no good. I can't remember it. I don't think it was an English name, put it that way.
Oh dear, what a pity.
There was something else too. I don't know if it matters, but the same name kept coming up over and over. Shin it was. Don't suppose it means anything, but...
Did you say Shin?
What? It does mean something!
Lord Von Zieks knew the name too. He mentioned her as well. The woman who actually did the deeds. And now we find out her name appeared in Gregson's secret notebook. We haven't seen you for a little while, have we, Gina?
Well, of course not. I've been busy, ain't I? Investigating and all that. The lads at the yard are trying to trace the boss's movements the day before it happened.
The day before? That would be the undercover investigation into the Red-Headed League then.
Only the boss didn't go, did he? You found some kelp what was pretending to be him, didn't you, Otto?
Yes, it was Mr. Vigil who actually went to the park on Lime Street that day, posing as Gregson.
Well, anyway, you ain't the only one turning stuff up. I got my own way of getting results. Woo! When me and my partner get here together, there's nothing we can't track down.
Oh, little Toby! He's such a faithful friend! So, have you tracked anything down then?
What do you think, eh? Of course we have. Can't tell you though. Police business, innit? Ugh. Anyway, the point is, if you ever need any help, you know who to turn to, right? Me and El out here.
Right, because he looks oh so hellish, honest. Oh, you never know. Gina, about your hellhound there.
Chief Inspector Toby, you mean? He's the pride of the force, he is.
In Japanese, police dog means something quite different, and not altogether nice to those involved in crime. But here in Britain, it's a wonderful compliment, it seems, for a canine at least. It should be. After all, in the great exhibition case the other day, it was Toby here who managed to locate Drebber's workshop.
Maybe it's time for another demonstration of what this super dog can do, eh?
Do we have something the Chief Inspector could catch the scent of, I wonder? Presumably it belonged to Gregson, but perhaps not.
Take that!
Well, Chief Inspector Toby, if you wouldn't mind having a sniff of this. It might be a little too keen, don't you think?
Ah!
The Chief Inspector made sure work of Gina there. Look what he's got to.
Oh my, that trunk clearly still has a strong scent of Inspector Gregson.
In other words, it must have belonged to him. No kidding? Says TG. Who else could it have been? It's not Gina Lestrade, that would be GL.
Alright, it's fair cop, I suppose. You nearly got away with it too.
You always talk so proudly of Chief Inspector Toby's nose and what it can achieve. Did it not cross your mind that he might identify something that was right next to us?
Yeah, that was a bit of a bloomer, weren't it?
That's enough now then, Gino.
Eh?
I think it's time you told us the truth about that trunk.
It weren't like that. It just weren't.
What are you talking about?
I know what's going through that head of yours, but that ain't what happened.
Alright then. What did happen?
Well, like I said before, we were trying to trace the boss's movements. So I let Toby have a whiff of the boss's overcoat. As soon as I done that, he went off like a shot. Straight into that sandwich.
To a sandwich, not to a bag of chips.
Mr. Noddlehoddle, I believe Gina means the witness.
Oh, I forgot about that sandwich.
Yeah, he had it between them wooden boards of his. The boss is strong.
Oh? You mean when they heard the sound like a gunshot and all piled in here?
Exactly. He nabbed it from the scene.
Goodness!
Me and the Chief Inspector gave that sandwich a good grilling. You know what he said?
I thought it might fetch a good price, and the chap wouldn't be needing it anymore, so... Bruh.
That's all I did. Nothing more. Well, you had to leave the cheek of it, eh? Stealing the dead boss's stuff to flog.
So Miss Venus wasn't the only one to meddle with the scene of the crime then.
How could they? So anyway, that's how it happened. It's a pretty decent trunk, so I figured I might as well make use of it. Is there something wrong with it, eh? Well?
Maybe you and Mr. Sandwich should try to find the answer to that question together.
I think perhaps that trunk should be turned over to the police, don't you? What are you on about? I am the police!
Gina, if you wouldn't mind, could we maybe examine it?
You alright then? Do what you want with it. Thank you. We shall make a detailed record of our examination of the evidence.
What's the matter with Toby? Why is he acting so aggressively towards me all of a sudden?
Mr. Nuttahorn, be careful! It must be the trunk!
Ah!
Toby, oi! What are you doing? You're gonna lick his face off! Mr. Nuttahorn! Gina, quickly, hail a carriage!
And that's how you get the bad ending of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. And also, how Ryunosuke Naruhodo died. No, I'm totally kidding.
Oh, Mr. Naruhodo, are you alright?
This is subtle. Ah, conscious again at last! A blessed relief, my dear fellow! After all, to drop dead after a moderate licking by a small terrier, most unseemly!
What is always unseemly is irrelevant here, Mr. Sholmes! I'm so glad there's no lasting damage. How are you feeling?
Fine, thank you. Did you bring me back here? What's this on my head? A bandage. Sadly, we had no ice, so that's a compress of sugar water. Sugar water?
Don't worry, Mr. Naruhodo. It's a first aid treatment that my father taught me.
Thank you. So, let us take tea when you're feeling up to it. But of course, no sugar in the patient's cup. The bump on my head is throbbing sweetly enough, don't worry.
Whenever you feel ready, then.
So we didn't get a bad end after all, or did we? Thank you for your concern, Mr. Sholmes.
My dear fellow, think nothing of it. I must say I was quite startled
when I heard that you'd been attacked by a dog. For a moment, I feared that infamous murderer of so many years having come back from the dead. You mean the professor? Fortunately, I see your prize throat is unscathed. Stiff, turned-up collars of yours obviously afforded some welcome protection. Was I that close to death? All I remember is the dog licking my face all over and over and over again. Well, if you wish to avoid such troubles in the future, a little mustard and spread on the cheeks should do the trick. I should think that would balance the sweetness of your bandage rather splendidly. Dude. Oh yeah, before we got knocked out, let's have a look at this. This obvious gash. Have you seen this huge gash across the side of the trunk here? It's gone right through the leather and into the metal behind. Gosh, for a metal chest like this to have been so badly damaged. Whoever made the gash must have struck the side of the trunk with considerable force.
wonder how it happened. Let's have a look inside.
Oh, very easy to open. That's worrying.
Look, there's something inside.
Some things. But let's look at the obvious.
It appears to be a passport, authorizing him to travel overseas. Was Inspector Gregson about to go on a trip abroad then? Perhaps the date of departure might tell us something. It was... What is it? It was for travel on 31st October! Just a day before the incident! Really? Gregson went to France the day before his body was discovered. Do you see that? There's something stuck in the side of the trunk there. It's glinting. Looks like a fragment of metal of some sort. But it's wedged in so tightly, I can't remove it.
Best not cut your fingers. Yeah, don't cut yourself. You better leave it, I think. Ew. Look at this dark stain here. Do you think...
Yes, I'm afraid so. I think it's blood.
I knew you were going to say that. So presumably that means...
This was present at the scene when Inspector Gregson was killed. It's the most logical conclusion.
Do you think Gina's been carrying this around with her? If you didn't know any better, I suppose it does look like a grease stain from all the fish and... It would not look that colour, would it? I don't think there's anything else. Okay, Tobias Gregson, within a week from 31st October, Port of Dunkirk, France, police business, permission for the applicant and one additional person to travel. Interesting. Maybe that person did the do.
Are you alright, Mr. Noddlehoddle? It's rather unusual to find ourselves here in the middle of our investigations.
It's just occurred to me that I might have forgotten something when we left this morning.
Please don't worry. As long as you continue to investigate thoroughly, you won't go far wrong.
Yes, of course. I must get back to work as soon as possible. Alright. Out on shows. Let's see. Okay, let's go through the places. So we're done here. We're done here. I'm pretty sure we're done here. Was there anything else? Where'd she go? Yeah, there she is. Gina, I'm really sorry.
It's tough, didn't it? If you asked me a year ago, the cops couldn't hang for I kid. We've got to have police, ain't we? To catch the bludgers. So us divers can go about our business in peace.
Wait, sorry? I don't think I heard that properly.
He said he was going to teach me everything I needed to know to be a detective. But all he got around to showing me is where the best flaming fish and chip shops are.
Actually, that reminds me. Gregson said that he was supposed to be going to Paris in the near future, didn't he? Is something wrong?
No, I'm sure I'm reading too much into things. It's just that the timing seems very coincidental.
You know, the boss was acting a bit strange recently. Like he was always in a rush. Anything we didn't look at? It looks pretty much the same as... I mean, besides the trunk, but we already looked at the trunk, so... I'm pretty sure we're done here. Shoot, I don't know what more we need to cover. Why are we seeing this end of the room? What's going on? What on earth is this? Am I having a bad dream? Oh no, it's an old German folk song. Rather a fine rendition, I think. That's the least of my concerns. Iris? Iris, what's the matter? Who is that that relaxed gentleman over there? Iris? Is she even listening? Excuse me, sir! I do apologize for troubling you whilst you're singing so merrily, but would you be kind enough to explain the situation? He's not dead, is he? Well, that worked. A crooning gentleman and a young mute girl. A rather tantalizing juxtaposition. And one that appears to have incited the gods of deduction within me to find their voices too. Mr. Sholmes, do you mean... The strains of reasoning within me are playing now as a delightful duet. One melody sings of a reunion full of nostalgia, whilst the other is a morose theme about the great secret you're trying so desperately to conceal, Iris. She's turned as white as a sheet. So as usual, you've instantly seen to the very heart of the matter. And by the time my own brief performance is over, I feel sure this gentleman's song will reach its finale. So then, to Musicland, where all is sweetness and delicacy and harmony. Pray do enjoy Herlock Sholmes' latest Logic and Reasoning Spectacular. The man's identity. Firstly, we consider the gentleman's nationality. Clearly, he's a German with no grasp of the English language, as evidenced by the Germanic song he sings and his apparent inability to understand what asks to desist. So, why is the man here at all, and in such apparently high spirits? The answer, of course, Cyrus, is clearly known to you. Indeed, we only need follow the gaze of those bright young eyes to unravel that particular part of this mystery. The reason for this man's mildly irritatingly warbling is revealed by the herbal tea. You obviously offered our German guest a cup of your latest herbal blend. The tea's delectable flavour has made this man's spirits soar. It resulted in this joyful ditty and tumbling incessantly from his lips. I eagerly await sampling the flavour myself, that I may join the fellow in a state of elation. Now, to the next question. Who exactly is this gentleman availing himself so thoroughly of the city? As it happens, a number of years ago now, a certain gentleman of German origin had engaged my services in solving a particularly delicate case. It required the retrieval of letters once sent to an acquaintance that might have proved problematic. In order to conceal his noble identity, he also arrived at my office in a mask. The gentleman's name was Wilhelm Gottschalk Sigismund von Olmstein, the Kid, the King of Germany. If my memory serves, the mask worn by this gentleman is identical. Yes, there can be no question. That mask belongs to the King of Germany. It would appear that His Majesty remembers a fine service I afforded him, and has decided to show his face again, mask and all, in order to express his gratitude. A well-mannered monarch indeed. Wouldn't you agree, my dear fellow? So, the identity of this masked visitor is in fact my former client, the King of Germany. Indeed, his son is currently in London as well, enjoying the wonders of the Great Exhibition. Good. The King of Germany. What? Which Sholmes we're talking about? Well, let him talk. Now, which leaves us with one remaining imponderable. Yes, you, young Iris. But your apparently inexplicable silence is unable to hide the truth. Yes, the reason for your muteness is concealed inside that knapsack. A £5 note, I believe. I must say, as your compatriot, I'm deeply saddened. It would appear that you've allowed yourself to be bribed into silence by His Royal Highness, earning yourself some spending money in exchange for keeping quiet about the King's secret. And now, the final piece of the puzzle. What is this secret you strive to hide with your silence, Iris? Ah, yes. We need only follow that brief involuntary twitch of your eyes to find the answer. You were attempting to abscond with that coffee cup. My favourite coffee cup, in fact. Or should I say, the handle of my favourite coffee cup. It appears that His High-Spirited Highness broke into the midst of his hijinks. Which leads us to the sad truth. My favourite coffee cup has been broken by the King of Germany! And Iris, you tried to conceal it from me! Shall have a bill sent via the governmental channels to the German royal family for its replacement. Your silence is caused by hiding the coffee cup. This concludes Sherlock Sholmes' great deduction, this painful puzzle. Your silence as well. The fellow's joy for your warbling rather rings in the ears, does it not? Mr. Sholmes, I must say something does rather trouble me. Pray, Mr. Sato, do tell! His Royal Highness doesn't appear to have moved a muscle since we arrived. And you haven't said a word either, Iris. If Mr. Sholmes has it all right, you might as well own up to it now. Your reasoning isn't entirely without substance, I must admit. And one other thing, Mr. Sholmes. Yet another grievance, Mr. Naruhodo? Surely not. Well, I actually read the story of that case recently. The one you were just describing. According to that, at least, it wasn't the King of Germany, it was the King of Bohemia. Goodness, was it? Yes, that's quite true. Master Gotz, the prince, testified to that in court. In his words, I have come to see the great exhibition all the way from my home in Bohemia. I would ask you to keep that minor error to yourselves. It could easily become quite a scandal. I believe, Mr. Naruhodo, that it's our turn now to make some corrections to a number of minor errors that might have slipped in. Yes, even Mr. Sholmes is willing to admit he might be slightly wide of the mark this time. Although it's clear that Iris is definitely hiding something. We need to find out the truth behind this mysterious scene. One truth is incontrovertible. My favourite coffee cup is no more. So, shall we embark again on a joint presentation of Herlock Sholmes' Logic and Reasoning Spectacular? Let's. Hold it, Mr. Sholmes. So what? It's some mix of herbs that gives you the urge to sing. Goodness, I should like to try some. And I'd like to hear your singing. But this man, just how long does he intend to keep up with that tune, do you suppose? As I said, he's been stock still the entire time. And if you look closely, his lips aren't moving either. So I'm not sure what's actually responsible for the spirited singing. But I suspect the answer lies in the end of Iris's gaze. Wait, this... It's a gramophone, still rarely seen in our own country. The sound certainly appears to be coming from the horn. The machine's singing. That can't be right. Science and technology are changing the world rapidly, Mr. Naruhodo. What's right is changing too. It's too much for my brain. Well, at least we found our answer. Shall we present it?
Take that!
The reason for the man's mildly irritating warbling is revealed by the gramophone. Indeed, for no well-bred gentleman would break into an obscure folk song with when making a social call. Why do you even have that song? I mean, no problem. In other words, this gentleman isn't singing at all. In fact, it would appear that the fellow is unconscious. Oh, the music seems to have stopped now. I ask you, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes? Why would I purchase a recording of that gibberish? How should I know? Well, never mind. On with the deduction. Who exactly is this gentleman availing himself so thoroughly of the settee? As it happened, a number of years ago now, a certain gentleman of German origin engaged my services in solving a particularly delicate case. He required the retrieval of letters once sent to an acquaintance that might have proved problematic. In order to conceal his noble identity, he also arrived at my office in a mask. The gentleman's name was Wilhelm Gottsreich Sigismund von Ormstein, the King of Germany. If my memory serves, the mask worn by this gentleman is identical. Yes, there can be no question. That mask belongs to the King of Germany. Although we've already established that it was actually the King of Bohemia. Seems Mr. Jones intends to persist with his Germany theory for some reason. Come to think of it, the young prince was wearing a mask as well, wasn't he? Mr. Guards, the boy whom you had in tears. Don't remind me, or anyone else.
Do you suppose all members of the aristocracy of mainland Europe wear masks?
I'm sure they do. Probably, anyway. The point is, that mask doesn't belong to any king.
No, that's right, as we well know. Because we can identify the true owner of this mask.
Can we?
Take that!
Yes, there can be no question. That mask belongs to Cosmo Sorgi. In other words, my memory is sublimely unreliable. Only you could try that to make that sound positive. Cosmo's mask had been languishing on this metal chest for several days. But that doesn't explain why the gentleman is wearing it now. But it is now a simple matter to determine our guest's true identity. After all, the gentleman is unconscious. We need only excuse ourselves in advance, gently lift the mask and peer beneath it. Dad? I don't believe it. Ah! Father! I'm afraid, Mr. Soto.
No, I think not, Mr. Sholmes.
Then it would appear our logic and reasoning has once again revealed the truth. This mysterious visitor
is my unconscious father, Yujimi Kotoba.
Logic and reasoning, or just looking and saying? Eugene Mikotoba. Which leaves us with one remaining imponderable. Yes, you, Iris. But your apparent inexplicable silence is unable to hide the truth. Yes, the reason for your muteness is concealed inside that knapsack. So that's a £5 note poking from Iris's knapsack, is it?
Oh dear, I can't be sure. Most money that we encounter is in coin form.
No, I'm not even sure if I've seen any banknotes here in Britain at all, have we?
But anyway, Father would have never paid money for Iris's silence.
Certainly seems like the silent type himself, though, judging by his present state. There must be some other reason for Iris's silence, I suppose.
Perhaps what Iris is trying so hard not to give away with her eyes is something entirely different.
Let's see.
This metal chest. It contains important documents, doesn't it?
Yes, details of all the cases Mr. Sholmes has worked on over the years. Written up by Iris's father, if I'm remembering correctly. Iris insists that the chest is kept locked at all times. She's never once shown me inside.
Its contents are invaluable to her, I suppose, and entirely irreplaceable. But look at it now. The catch is unlocked for once.
So it is! It's hard to ignore.
Very. I've never seen that that's unlocked before in all the time we've been staying here at Baker Street.
Take that!
Yes, the reason for your muteness is concealed inside that metal chest. An excellent observation, for upon closer inspection, there is something different about the chest's appearance. It's kept locked at all times, yet now the catch is open. Evidently, this has something to do with your refusal to speak, Iris. It's a simple enough matter to incite you to speak, I'm sure. I merely need to open this chest. Here we go. No! Slowly don't! Ooh! Mr. Sharps! He's dead. No!
Oh, Hurley, I told you not to open it.
Ah, so you found your voice now, Iris? In other words, what just happened clearly reveals the truth here. Yes, the real reason for your silence until now is... This is somewhat different to the usual dance of deduction you perform with Mr. Sholmes, isn't it? He's left me alone on the ballroom floor, so I'm going to have to dance this next part solo. And anyway, I need to get to the bottom of this for my own peace of mind. Now then, Iris isn't usually the silent type, so... You mean you don't actually know the answer yet, despite that knowing point of the finger before? Mr. Subtle, sometimes a man needs to point his finger first and think later. Oh, well, if you say so. I think we'd better examine Iris more closely and try to rescue the situation then. That's a key she's holding, look. I'm sure that wasn't in her hands before, was it? No, you're quite right. It's appeared, as if by magic. That's strange. A big old iron key. Where did it materialize from?
Take that!
Yes, the real reason for your silence until now is that key behind your back! When Mr. Sholmes was thrown into the air before. Just before you called out to try to stop him, you slipped something out of your mouth. That something is the key, now in your hands. No doubt the key to the chest.
You're so clever, Bruno.
So now it becomes clear. Thanks to Mr. Sholmes' graphic demonstration. We can now well imagine what happened here. Professor Mikotobo also opened that metal chest only to be punched into the air and land sprawled on the settee.
But wait, that doesn't explain all the facts. What about the stylish scarf and the cup of tea? And above all, why would he be wearing Cosimo Summer's mask?
Well, for those curious details, I can think of only one explanation. Clearly an unbelievable miracle took place in this room. Isn't that right, Iris? Consider how the room was arranged before this whole painful experience took place. When Professor Mikotobo opened the chest, completely unaware of what happened awaited him inside. The mask was flung into the air just as he was, only to land neatly on his face when it fell back down. And the teacup's journey through the air ended when it caught on the unconscious professor's finger.
You mean to say that the stylish scarf
is actually just a tablecloth. Or chest cloth. This is the great detective's office, after all. A place of miraculous deductions. Would you expect anything less?
Yes, you're right. It happened exactly as you said. Brilliant, Bruno.
Thus concludes Yunosuke Naruhodo's great deduction of this punchy puzzle.
So then, why don't I make a fresh pot of tea for us all?
Objection!
An admirable performance, Mr. Naruhodo. But in the final act of the show there, you rather missed everything of importance. Your coffee cup. Mr. Sholmes. If you would cast your mind back to my earlier deduction. Iris, clearly you're hiding a great secret. She is, from the look of her face. Mr. Sholmes must be right. Whatever that great secret is, the cat isn't out of the bag yet. So I put it to you again. You were attempting to abscond with that coffee cup.
It really is a shame about Mr. Sholmes' cup. It must have been smashed when Professor Mikoto opened the chest. Oh dear, so many things seem to have been broken here.
But now that the deduction has taken a different direction, Iris doesn't seem to be trying to hide the broken cup anymore.
In other words, the great secret is something else.
Let's put our observational skills to work here one final time then.
Look, there seems to be more papers there. Is Iris trying to hide them underneath the tray? The insignia of Mr. Naruhodo. It's an official Scotland Yard document. Why would Iris have... We must ask her. An official Scotland Yard document.
Care to explain, dear? You were attempting to abscond with that case file. Iris, as you know very well, nothing escapes the attention of a great detective.
Oh no!
We visited Scotland Yard's autopsy laboratory earlier today, and Dr. Gorey informed us that the autopsy report of Clint von Zeeks had gone missing.
Clint von Zeeks. Yes, I do seem to recall.
That some years ago I asked to see the report in question. You were with me, weren't you, Iris? You mean, it was you, Iris? So those papers you have there are...
I'm sorry.
To hide the case file. In truth, I would like to have thought I could have predicted the booby-trapped chest. But it caught me completely off guard. It was very nearly the late consulting detective Herlock Sholmes.
I'm sorry, Hurley.
So you mean this autopsy report really is...
Yes, I took it from the lab. Even though I knew it was very important.
Was there something in it that troubled you, Iris?
Not exactly something that troubled me. Something I'd been looking for. And I saw this report. And I saw the writing in it. I knew it was Daddy's.
The writing?
Your father's writing? What do you mean?
Iris, it must be something that's hard for her to talk about. Forgive me for interrupting, my dear fellows. Mr. Sholmes, what is it? I feel as though the poor unconscious gentleman on the settee has been somewhat forgotten.
Ah! Father!
Perhaps we should find our guest somewhere more peaceful to rest. Mr. Naruhodo! Yes? Would you be so kind as to lend him your bed? We must do our very best to keep him comfortable, I feel. Yes, of course. I'll help you carry him up.
So will I!
No, I can manage alone, thank you. You have tea to enjoy. We wouldn't want Iris's brew to stew. Because there's no way to make the professor comfortable than dragging him upstairs like a trunk. Ew. I wonder, perhaps that was deliberate. Maybe Mr. Sholmes is making himself scarce to give Iris the chance to talk more freely.
We must use this opportunity to talk with Iris.
Find out what's going on. Would you like to tell us about it, Iris? About your father?
I'm sure I told you before, didn't I? That Daddy used to be Hurley's partner.
Yes, and that note about all the cases they solved together are kept in that metal chest.
That's right. Hurley told me, you see. He said that Daddy's somewhere far away now, so we can't meet.
It's one way of describing it.
Then, when I secretly unlocked the chest and read through the papers inside, I started to build up a picture in my head of what Daddy must be like.
That's only natural.
You're just like any other girl of your age. I read that Daddy was a professor of medical science, so I studied and took my degree too.
That's only natural, I suppose. In that respect, you're not quite like other girls.
But there was one thing that I could never find out. Daddy's name.
Oh.
His name wasn't anywhere on any of the notes that he made about his work with Hurley. But then one day...
That's what happened, is it? When you saw this autopsy report, you finally managed to work it out. Is that right?
Yes.
So it was the handwriting in the report that caught her eye.
When I saw the writing on the report, I could hardly believe it. I know that handwriting, I thought to myself.
Because it was the same as the writing you'd seen on your father's case notes.
Exactly. I was desperate to compare the two properly. I need to see them side by side. I asked the doctor in the laboratory, but I was told I couldn't take the report away. And even worse, I was told that it was the first and last time we'd be allowed even to look at it there.
So you decided to steal it?
When I compared the autopsy report with the case notes I had here, there was no doubt. The handwriting was exactly the same. It was Daddy's.
And the signature on the coroner at the bottom of the autopsy report read Dr. John H. Wilson.
So that's how I finally found out. I learned Daddy's name at last.
I see.
Ever since then, I've called myself Iris Wilson. And that's when I had the brilliant idea of writing stories all about Daddy's exciting times with Hurley. I decided then and there that I'd write the adventures of Sherlock Sholmes. Well, Iris, I had no idea the stories had quite such a deep personal significance for you.
I can see why the autopsy report was so important to her now. and why she was prepared to break the law to get her hands on it. I must apologize, Iris. This is really all my fault.
Really?
I made a promise, you see, that until the time was right, I'd keep the details about your father a secret.
I'm very naughty. Take the autopsy report back to Dr. Gory and apologize. I promise.
Yes, we'll go together, I think.
Then let me look after it for you until we get there. I must go and water my herbs, I think. I'll see you all later.
Poor Iris, she must be feeling awful. I know Mr. Sholmes is here for her, but still.
How? What's the meaning of this, Mr. Sholmes?
Mr. Sholmes? Oh, dear me. So, you've noticed, I see.
That would mean... What on earth's the matter, Mr. Sottle? You've turned as white as a sheet.
It's this autopsy report, Mr. Naruhodo. The one from 10 years ago. The writing.
This isn't Dr. Wilson's at all.
What do you mean? How would you possibly know that?
Because I know this writing very well. This writing, it's my father's. What? Professor Miko Thomas?
Indeed, it's true. And now you know, my dear fellows.
No. No, I don't know anything. What does any of this mean, Sholmes?
This idea that's slowly forming in my mind, it's just too extraordinary to believe.
Please, you have to explain.
So, this autopsy report was actually penned by Professor Mikotomo then?
But that makes no sense. It's not possible, surely.
Not possible, my dear fellow. Pray, take a deep breath and think again.
Yes, you're right. In some ways, it actually makes a great deal of sense.
It does? 10 years ago, it's when Father returned to Japan after his extended study tour in Britain. And prior to his return, where was Dr. Mikotomo engaged? Of course, he was an assistant in Dr. Wilson's laboratory, learning about forensic science. And as an assistant, he would have aided with the dissection work, making detailed notes, which would be assembled into the full autopsy report. Once the work was complete, the head coroner would check the contents and put his signature on the document. In other words, the only writing of Dr. Wilson in the report would be his signature at the end. I see. So Iris got the wrong end of the stick, you mean? She saw that and assumed the whole report had been written by Dr. John H. Wilson. Which is very understandable, of course. What a complicated situation. So does that... Thinking about it, most of what we know about you, Mr. Sholmes, comes from the published stories of your exploits. Yes, the adventures of Herlock Sholmes, written by Iris. And we really have no way of knowing What's fact and what's fiction? That's troubling for you, my dear fellow, I'm sure. So what about this supposed partner of yours? Did he really exist or not? Ah, you've come straight to the point, I see.
Please come straight to the answer.
I believe Iris explained it in one of her installments. He was a trusted comrade, the only person I could truly have called a friend.
Did this partner of yours truly make a record of all your cases? Are his notes really stored inside that metal chest?
Absolutely, my dear madam. Absolutely. So, where's your partner now? We rarely meet. You see, he lives on the other side of the world. But if this autopsy report and the records of all your old cases were penned by the same hand, and if the autopsy report was written, though not signed, by your famous partner, there would be only one logical conclusion.
Pray, impress me.
Your partner would have to be Yujin Mikotoba. In other words, Mr. Sato's father.
Upon my word, Mr. Naruhodo.
Yes? You are coming along wonderfully. You have hit upon the method at last. You finally grasped the art of deduction. You mean to say? Allow me to introduce you to my great friend and partner, Mikotoba.
Professor Mikotoba! Does this mean that you're the real Dr. Wilson?
What? No, my dear. I'm still my old self, Yuji Mikotoba, your father.
Of course.
This is obviously too much for Susato-san to take in. I must say, though, how my old friend has attained worldwide celebrity as a great mystery solver is the greatest mystery of all. I still remember the first time we met. Ah, pray remind me. When was that again, Mikotoba? 16 years ago, Sholmes. Ah yes, quite! 16 years ago! I just arrived from Japan with Seishiro and Genshin. I was in search of lodgings close to the hospital, some comfortable rooms at a reasonable price. But rents are devilishly high in that particular area. That's right, so I decided I need someone to share lodgings and the expense. I was fortunate enough to be introduced to Sholmes, who found himself in a similar situation. I was a callow fellow back then, a mere shadow of the great detective you see before you now. I was working at the hospital's chemical laboratory at the time, indulging my curiosities for little gain. Ooh. The situation of our cohabitation led us to pursuing cases together, you see. Hard to believe it was a mere 6 years. We had a great many adventures. But in the last year of Mikotoba's stay in Britain, the most infamous of cases presented itself. The case with which you've become rather familiar yourselves. The Professor killings. After the trial, Seishiro and I were summoned back to home. Hardly surprising given the circumstances. So there you have it. And as you know, all the details recorded by my trusty chronicler remain in that metal chest. This is just amazing. Professor Mikotoba really is Mr. Sholmes' famous partner. Ah, but... Father. Goodness, my dear! What a cutting look! Is your daughter
I'm very proud to learn that you were the great detective's great partner. But nevertheless, there's another mystery that I really must ask you to explain now. And that is... You know very well what it is. The unresolved matter of Iris's father! Well, of course. I'd almost forgotten about that one. I should have seen this coming, I suppose. Iris told us that all the notes about the great detective's adventures that are in that metal chest were written by her father. Is that correct, Mr. Soames? That is indeed what I told young Iris. But if you're Mr. Soames' partner, father, and you wrote all those case notes, then Iris's father must be you. Care to explain? Did you have someone on the side? Upon my word, Mr. Sato. You are coming along wonderfully as well. You too have hit upon the method at last. You finally grasped the art of deduction. Like you've always told me, father, is that my mother died when I was born 16 years ago. You left me in grandmother's care whilst you embarked on your study tour of Britain. I've always accepted that. But this about Iris. Oh, there it is! Susato-san's ice cold stare! Hold on a minute! It was very complicated. I mean, it's really not what you think. You sure? Then perhaps you'd like to explain exactly what it is? There it is! Now the eyes go from ice cold to red hot just before she... No, really, you've got the wrong end of the stick. Soames, say something, man! Please! That's quite enough, my fiery fellows! Mr. Soames, when did he get all dressed up? Whilst I don't like to interrupt this exciting exploration of the past, Mikotoba and I have an urgent matter that requires a short excursion. It's very late, Mr. Soames. Where must you go? Why, my dear madam, is that not obvious? My partner and I must pursue our natural enemies. So, get your coat, Mikotoba. The game is afoot. But, Soames, I really must give Susato a full explanation, I think. Later, my dear fellow, later. Our carriage awaits downstairs already. You haven't changed one iota, have you? I mean, really, I visit our home after 10 long years. And when I open that chest in a fit of nostalgia, I quite inexplicably pass out. And as if that wasn't enough, when I eventually regained consciousness, I plunged straight into all this. Father, please, go with Mr. Soames now. Whoa! I've no doubt that whatever happened, you were acting in everyone's best interests. I trust you, completely! Susato. And sending the great detective and his great partner off on renewed adventures together. It's more than I could have hoped for in my wildest dreams. Very well then, we'll speak again later. So, I believe your own work is done for the day. I wish you the best of luck for tomorrow. Yes, Naruhodo. Good luck in battle, and reaching a decision. A decision about whether to go back to Japan, I suppose.
So much happened that day that I barely knew what to do with myself.
Absolutely.
It would only be later that I'd come to realize how amidst the chaos I'd unleashed were all the clues I needed to finally unearth the truth, and that all the turmoil was necessary to give me the resolve to see everything through.